Now is time for our meditation. So I invite you to get things out of your lap and get those feet firmly planted on the floor. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. We'll begin taking some deep breaths. And I invite you to think to yourself as you breathe in, God is, and breathe out, I am. Do that a few times. This morning we'll be taking a little journey into a forest. Just going to take a little walk because there's something on our mind, something in our heart that has been sort of niggling at our consciousness, something that we would like to see a better outcome for, maybe some misunderstanding with someone, something that's just a little bit off that you would like to see a resolution, a peaceful resolution to. So as you have that on your mind and you're walking through this forest, you come upon a cave. Now granted, can't really see what's in the cave. It's drawing you in. So you have faith and you trust and you go into the cave and it's welcoming. It's dark, but it's peaceful. And you find a place to rest. You sit down and you begin to contemplate in this darkness that which is heavy on your heart, that which you have been carrying around on your shoulders for some time now. And you begin to question, what if I let that go? What if I didn't have that burden? How might I see it differently? And as we sit in the silence, you contemplate a whole nother way of looking at what it is that you have been fretting about. And we do this in the silence. There is nothing so large that enough God consciousness can't solve it. You know, love overrides any other emotion. And so we concentrate on that love of God that is in us and how we're here to live our best life. And if we're carrying around hurts, regrets, grudges, misunderstandings, it weighs down our soul. And so we choose this day to leave this burden in the cave, to emerge from the darkness back out into the life that you so deserve, into the light of God, the light of Spirit. And so we rise and we remove ourselves from the darkness, from the cave, from the concern and the worry. And we emerge almost as if we are a butterfly coming out of a cocoon, We have new eyes to see things. We have a new feeling within our heart of hope for the days to come. Because we know there is no spot where God is not. God is all there is. And so we feel lighter, more peaceful, as we let go and we let God be God in us. So I invite you now to make your way back to this place, leaving that beautiful forest, knowing that any time you can enter into this place, facing the darkness and knowing you're going to be just fine. Everything is unfolding with the grace of God right here and right now, in every single moment. And so we say thank you, indwelling Spirit, for this beautiful opportunity to remember how powerful and magnificent we are as co-creators with God. And as we bring ourselves back into the sanctuary, I invite you to, whenever you're ready, just open your beautiful eyes. Welcome back. So this week we've been celebrating veterans, and there were a number of articles in the newspaper this week covering and highlighting different ones, but the one that really touched me was a 100-year-old Port Charlotte resident named Robert Herman, who is still managing his 3-bedroom house, cooks for himself, does everything for himself, drives to the grocery store, goes out to eat a couple times a week, and at the wonderful age of 96 took up painting and has created 54 works of art that they showed in the newspaper, which I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. I was so inspired. And so, of course, everybody wants to know, what are you doing, Robert, that's helping you to live such a wonderful life? And he said, well, I don't know that there's a whole lot to it. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I like a beer now and again. And then we find out in the article that he also is a devotee to his Lutheran church. He's very much a part of that. And he added, oh, and there's one thing, not a day goes by that I don't eat blueberries. So just a little hint for your health in case. So they were having 5 generations of his family. Can you imagine? He has like great-great-grandchildren. I want to be like that when I grow up. How about you? I was inspired, and I'm just inspired by all veterans, all of you that have served your country and served your country well so we could have the freedoms that we have. So I'm delighted to tell you that this is November, if you haven't noticed, and we are moving into our 11th power, which happens to be the power of release. And so our sweet home office, Unity World Headquarters, has a new video for us about release. How to stay centered no matter what is our theme for the year, and hasn't that been a wonderful thing for us? So let's say our affirmation this month is, whatever I release will bless me. Wow. You notice how the trees just release the leaves? I posted a picture on Facebook this week that Mark Fuss took of all the beautiful colors at Unity Village. And in the Facebook post, he said, but now the trees are bare. So they had all this wonderful color. And do they fret about letting go? No. No, they just do what they're supposed to do. They go through the seasons, right? And we have the same thing in our life. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, discerned that we have these 12 innate faculties within us, these 12 powers that we inherit from God, that once they're activated and really used and empowered, that this helps us unfold our highest divine nature possible. And so this release is really important to us. It's not just release, it's also known as renunciation. It's known as elimination. It has many different names, but this power is what helps us to cleanse and purify our entire being. You know how it is when you keep buying things and your closet gets full and then there's no more room? And you finally think, well, I need to make a trip to Goodwill or Salvation Army because my closet is full. I have no longer have room. Well, our consciousness is like that as well. It's kind of the same thing. We carry stuff around. We carry junk in our subconscious all the time. Some things we don't even know the beliefs and the things that aren't working for us that we're still carrying around. So this power is so very important because we have to let go of the old stuff so that we can create the new way of being. And we've had a whole pandemic to pull apart for a while and be still and do that inner work that we need to be doing. Thaddeus is the disciple that represents this power, and Thaddeus is accredited with writing the chapter of Jude in the Bible. He was the brother James who represents order, and this power is so important because we cannot make spiritual progress when we're carrying all these burdens on our back. We just can't make progress. It weighs us down because we can't move into the new when we have all that, because there's this natural flow, just like the trees and the seasons. There's a natural flow of the universe. This like giving and receiving. You know, you have to give out those old clothes to make room for the new that needs to come in. You have to get rid of things, clear your space. You know how your space feels so much better when it's not all cluttered? It's because everything is energy. Everything is energy. And if you have clogged everything, it's going to feel clogged. And your mind is going to get clogged too. So it's important that we pay attention and do our spiritual practices and clear space, clear our energy, clear our minds. We have to get rid of old behaviors and old patterns that no longer serve us so that we can really live our best lives. In the Tao Te Ching, it says, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. When I let go of what I have, I receive what I need. You see, we don't need to hang on, but sometimes we're clinging to things, right? Even if they don't even feel good, sometimes we cling to things because it's familiar. So we're in Genesis today, chapter 32, verses 24 through 26. And you know, we always metaphysically interpret the Bible. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he struck him on the hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So I know none of you have ever hung on to things too long. like, you know. I don't know about you, but I've hung on to things. In particular, I can tell you of some opportunities in my life when I stayed in places of employment too long, when I just felt like I just couldn't, I was so responsible, I couldn't let go, until I got physically ill. And so, the universe is always nudging and preparing you for the next best thing. And so you have to pay attention to those cues. Well, we can find ourselves like Jacob in the Hebrew Scriptures, wrestling for a long time with things. Sometimes it's with people in our lives. We wrestle with people. We're trying to save somebody that doesn't even want to be saved. You know what I mean? We're trying to teach them the principles and bring them along. If they could only just think like I think. If they could only just see like I see. We want so much for everybody to be as happy as we are. But that's their path, you see. That's their journey. We may even need to let go, and yet we can't until we truly understand what the lesson is. Sometimes the very teaching we need to grasp is that letting go is the very best thing for us. Not always easy, necessarily. We don't have to keep fighting until the favor is received. You see? We just let go. We drop the struggle, and dropping the struggle can become the gift in itself. Carrying it is much harder than letting it go. We don't believe that, but it's the truth. We don't believe it. I believe we stay in the familiar, even if it's not comfortable. Because it's the familiar, and we don't know what's on the other side. If we let go of this, what's it going to be like? What if it's not as good as what I have, right? People stay in relationships too long because they're scared to be on their own, or they don't even know how to go about it, right? They hang on and cling to unhealthy things because the fear of the unknown. The better way, you see, is to face the darkness, is to wait on the Lord that we've been talking about. Waiting on the Lord, getting that direction for what we need to do, and trusting with all your heart and soul that God is all there is. It's about principle one. God is, I am, I think, I pray, I live. So if we truly believe that God is all there is, why can't we trust and let go and wait to see what miracle may come to us, what wonderful outcome may come to us? Well, we'll just hang on a little bit longer, looking for a sign. Maybe we're looking for a sign. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but something's going to let me know I'm heading in the right direction or I'm going down the right road. Instead of just saying, okay, we'll try this for a bit, right? And that's exactly what happens. That's how we self-sabotage ourselves, because we continue to cling. We continue to cling because it is familiar, even though it might not be comfortable. Change is inevitable because we're in earth school. We came here to learn lessons. That's what we signed up for. I believe we have little gatherings of souls. We're like in pods, and we decide ahead of time before we come here what it is we're going to learn. And I'm going to help you learn this lesson, and you're going to help me learn this lesson, right? And then we come here and we play in earth school. So then why would we want to carry around anything that doesn't feel good to us? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in any way, why would we want to carry that stuff around? Because change equals growth. If you stay the same, you're never growing. You have to allow those things to come to you and look for the opportunity. Look for the good. I have an example that came out of one of Paul Hasselbeck's book about this lady, Jane, and she wanted to lose weight. And she had this goal of what she wanted to do, and she would go to the store and she would buy all this healthy food and put it in her refrigerator, and then she wouldn't eat it. And she would let it sit there until it spoiled, and then she got to throw it away. And so she kept, and the same pattern, the same thing. And then one day in meditation, she had a realization because she was frustrated. She wasn't getting anywhere toward her goal. And she realized there was a belief in her mind that said that she inherited heaviness from her family. That she had inherited that she was not going to be able to lose weight because everybody in her family was heavy, and that's just the way it was. So what happened was she created an affirmation. I give no power. Actually, it's a denial. I give no power to the belief that I have low metabolism. I don't believe it. And so she began to use that as a basis. She denied, and then she allowed for the good to come. And do you know, she created the lifestyle that she wanted? She got rid of that belief. We all carry those things that well-meaning people said to us when we were little, and we took in and we believed it, right? Like, you'll never be good at math. You know, I'm not good at math. You'll never be good at math. All those things that people told us. You shouldn't probably make singing your first job. You should probably just use it as a hobby. You know, people said terrible things to us, thinking they were helping us, like keeping us from being hurt later down the road or something. But no. She identified the unconscious belief that she had somehow inherited that. And so she disempowers the old belief and claims a new one. You know, Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founder, did the same thing. Everybody told her, you know, you've inherited TB. You're going to be puny. You know, it's just kind of the way it is. And she believed that and became very, very ill from it. So puny. And then she went to that lecture by E.B. Weeks and heard, I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. And it went boing. She was like, oh my God. All it took, you see, was one new thought, one new idea. That's all it takes anytime, is one new thought, one new idea, one realization that you could see your life differently than what you're experiencing it right now in the physical. That's how magically powerful we are. Change your thinking, change your life. We don't have to struggle through anything. It's all in how we see it. So, tweaking our perspective is such a powerful thing. That may be all it takes, is to see it a little differently. I can remember a long time ago, I was irritated by somebody in a class or a group that I was in, and my wonderful, enlightened, licensed Unity teacher, mentor at that time said, you know, there is the power of release. And I was like, duh. Yeah. And when I went into meditation about it, what I realized was this person was exhibiting behaviors that I needed to look at in myself. Every single person that comes into your life is there to teach you something. But you have to be open to it. And you know what happened? I started to see her differently, and I began to appreciate her, and we became friends because there were things in her that I needed to work on in myself. Those things that irritated me were parts of myself that needed to be healed. It was a miracle, and it was like all I did was change the way I was looking at her and thinking about it. So we have this incredible opportunity to change the way that we're looking at things. Everything is here for us. There's nobody here against us. We are not our bodies. We are not our emotions. We are spirit. We're soul, right? all of these things that are happening to us for a reason. So my whole family experienced trauma once just from my mom having a grudge against my cousin. When my grandmother died, one of my cousins went into the house and took the violin right after she died, and my mother would not let that go. And I'm talking decades of estrangement where we couldn't get our family together because Mom wouldn't have it, wouldn't have that girl in our house. And this went on for a long time until one Father's Day, it just came to me, you know, we had all lost our pops. And people needed a place to gather, and so I invited them all and had them stand in a circle and hold hands. And my mother showed up and came, and my cousin came. And we prayed, and we blessed the food, and something happened. It just went, psh, it just dissolved. It just dissolved because we allowed an opportunity for forgiveness to happen. So that's really all it takes, so that these things don't weigh on our soul. And so we're moving into the last few days, weeks of Sue Monk Kids' book we've been studying, When the Heart Waits, in our Adventures in Faith group. And there is a chapter, and you're not going to believe this, you can't make this stuff up. Chapter 5 is letting go. How about that? She says letting go isn't one step, but it's a process of many steps. And that it's necessary to begin at the beginning to confront our ambivalence about it. You know, why are we struggling to let go of something? She quotes Quaker author Thomas Kelly, who says, "We are a patchwork of light and dark, torn between the enhancement of our own little s selves and our God-possessed will. Why are we clinging to the old way of being? What have we got to lose by letting go and allowing what wants to express through us for why we came into this incarnation in the first place? What if it only gets better? You know, that book by Mindy Audlin, what if it all turns out right? What if it all turns out all right? What if yourself up instead of what ifing down into how bad could it be if I let go of this? Oh my goodness, you know. Change your vibration. What are we afraid of? In her research, she discovered the writings of Thomas Merton, who said there are 2 levels in this process of abandoning that self-will and surrendering fully to God. The first one is sort of active, and it takes care of the surface sorts of attachments that we have. It's a lot of work because you recognize a behavior that you don't like, and then you have to release it and replace it with something different, right? So it's an ongoing, we're doing this all the time. The second one is a more deeper dive into a more unconscious pattern that really needs us to turn things over to God within. To work on those secret attachments, those things that we might not even know about. But I'll tell you what happens is we get stuck in the first one and we don't make it to the second one. And that's why we keep repeating the same patterns in our lives, because we haven't quite made it through the deep work to get rid of the things in the subconscious. So you sit in your cave and you ask Spirit to show you that which it is that needs to be released. We have to be okay with being in the darkness. If it's all God, the dark is as good as the light, right? If it's all God, it's all part of the lesson we're learning, and we need to quit forcing things to happen. We need to allow God to draw us into that readiness to be able to do the work. We have so many wonderful tools in our toolbox, spiritual tools in our toolbox, practices that we can use to help us to move through whatever it is that's challenging us. In Luke, in the Bible, there's a scripture that Mary says to the angel, "Let it be to me according to your word." So this angel comes and tells her she's going to have the baby Jesus, right? And she's like, "Oh, me? But she lets go of her personal will and turns it over to God and says, let it be to me according to your word. Let it be. Let it unfold. Let me allow it to happen. Because it's for the greater good, right? It wasn't for her own personal, but it was for the greater good. It's so simple, or is it? It may be simple, but it's not easy necessarily if there's things that we've hung on to for decades and decades. But we have to remember, life isn't happening to us. Life is happening for us. There's a huge difference in that little preposition. Huge difference. Life is unfolding for us. You know, there's that, this title comes from Sue Monk Kidd's book, but what it made me think about is Ricky Byers Beckwith sings a song, and it's about pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart, whoa, come Holy Spirit. It's wonderful. And so you go home and look up that and play that song for yourself. Let that pour the Spirit into you. This came to Sue Monk Kidd when she was in meditation because she played a little teapot. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is the handle, here is the spout. If you turn the heat up, I will shout, tip me over and pour me out. She performed the teapot song as a child, and that's funny how the universe has a sense of humor to try to get us to move into what it is that we need to do, right? So we all need to lighten up a little bit. There is a lot of humor in the universe, so I'm going to read this one piece out of her book. She says, we're containers filled with an ego elixir we've brewed ourselves. When the heat is turned up inside and the old begins to burn away, we must offer God the handle and the spout of our lives. God tips us over and pours us out. The me is poured out. The self with the lowercase s, the old ways of being, the old ways of relating to God. We're emptied so that we can be refilled with new and living waters. That's the constant inflow of life, the constant inflow of spirit. So if you think about it, the most significant events in Jesus' life, she says in her book, were in darkness. The birth, the imprisonment, the death, the resurrection, they were all from darkness. Wonderful, magnificent things came from that. You have to have the dark so you can have the light, so you can appreciate it, right? We mustn't be afraid to wait in the darkness because it yields extraordinary events. So we're letting go of the old and we're creating the new. Okay, enough preaching. It's time for a joke. So this guy's in the airport and he realizes that his luggage has not shown up. So he goes to that special section in the airport for lost luggage, and he goes up to the counter and tells the lady that his bags haven't showed up. And she smiled and she told him, please don't worry. She said, I am a trained professional and you're in good hands now. And he said, okay. Now she asked, now, has your plane arrived yet? Oh dear. Capable hands. I want to close today with the sweetness of surrender. Linda Fairbanks wrote this and submitted it to the writers group, and I got my hands on it, so I'm going to close with it today. It comes to you after all else fails. That notion to let go. There is a sweetness which envelops in giving over the you to the all. At first a hesitancy, knowing that there is change ahead. Fear has passed, but doubt may linger with a weak thread soon to be severed. A deep breath in fortifies. One last look at what used to be. Then the moment overtakes as the plunge is imminent. But first release and a willingness to experience a momentary discomfort. as the familiar dissolves into the change. Forever is gone. Limbs still moving, body intact. Forward, there is a sweetness in surrender. Thank you for that, Linda. May you learn to release all that's holding you back so you can be the best that you came here to be. God bless. Thank you so much. Now is a time in our service when we get to give back from our goods, so I invite you to take your tithes and offerings in your hands. I'm going to put one in each because I have two different ones. As we bless our offering, whether you're here in person or you're giving through PayPal or Breeze online and you're watching the service at a later time, we are so grateful for you. So let's say this together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so. And so it is, and so we allow it. Amen. Namaste.